All right. I am here with Jaclyn DiGregorio. I feel like this is kind of our 1 year anniversary because we met around this time last year. I'm so excited to have you here. Jaclyn,
Thank you so much for having me.
you are a life coach. You are a motivational speaker with over 100 stages spoken on. What? You are best-selling author of Stop Getting in Your Way. You are the hostess with the mostest of Spark Your Light podcast. And you started your first business from your dorm room at Georgetown at 21. You became obsessed with helping women push the boundaries of what they think is possible for them. And you are celebrating a TED Talk that launched, was it last month? In
Yeah.
October? The simple formula that builds courage. You are manifesting 70,000 views. So everyone go and look for this TED Talk, please. And I want to start here because in this talk that you gave, there was so much that you said that just resonated on such a deep level. And you start by speaking to the reality that we all fail. We all feel fear. And you mention the journal entry. And I don't want to give away the whole talk. People are going to have to go.
No, it's okay.
I love this because it's so real for all of us. There was a moment years back where you made this journal entry in your phone. And this was on the heels of a failed product launch, an app launch that didn't work out, not once, but I think 3 times you shared. And you were in this space of thinking that, well, damn, maybe I don't have what it takes to build a successful business. And you then talk about the voice inside that kept you going. What did that voice say?
Yeah. It was this small part of me, very teeny, like 1%, that knew I could do it. And if the whole other pie, the 99% was saying, you can't do this, you're going to fail, you should just give up. Because there was that one part of me that said, no, I think it might be possible. Just that glimmer of hope, that's what kept me going. And I think that this is something that we see oftentimes when we set goals. If you set a goal that is so far out of reach, or it feels like it's so far out of reach for you, sometimes it doesn't scare you at all because there's not even a part of you that believes it's possible, so you're not even going to try. So I actually see fear as a good thing, because when we're nervous about our goals, it means that there's a part of you that knows it's possible. And that's the part that's afraid. So that courage is really that part of you that knows it's possible. And then my mission with my TEDx and a lot of this work I'm doing around courage is teaching people how to amplify that part so that they can be more courageous more often and create more of this life that they deep down know that they want, but maybe they've been settling for a different life.
Mm. Do you find that when you lean into that courage, that you're giving yourself permission in a way to fail?
100%. I even take it further. Like, I think that in the world we live in today, there's a lot of positive content out there. And I think most people, like the average person, can grasp this concept. They've heard it before in school, on a sports team when they were younger, maybe by a college professor, whatever. They've heard this concept of like, failure isn't so bad, and failure teaches you, and you have to fail in order to achieve great things. But I think where most people fall short, and the problem with that average group being there, is that I really want them to be over here where they see failure as like the most important part of the process, as a sign of success, as a sign to keep doing it, and it to be something where, not to say that you don't get disappointed at all, right? So if I set a goal and I fail, of course, naturally, I'm going to feel disappointed. But truly to take it as a sign that I'm moving in the right direction and that I'm challenging myself. It's so funny because last night I write all my goals on this whiteboard in front of me that I'm looking at in my office. And I wrote a bunch of new goals. And I called my fiance in the room, like, look at my goals. And he's like, they're great, Jack. They seem realistic. And I was devastated. He's like, why are you upset? Like, my face, like, and I'm like, realistic? I'm like, oh no, I must make them bigger. And he's like, no, like, it's just that I believe in you. I know you can achieve them. Like, they're obviously big. They're obviously things you've never done before, but I know you can do it. And it's kind of funny because I think most of us live in that world where we want to have realistic goals. And it's like, I want to fail. So how can we get more people to want to set more unrealistic goals and want to fail and be open to failing and get to that place where they have enough self-belief that they're actually going to try rather than self-sabotaging by distracting themselves with other things and using the excuse that they tried, but they never did. I see it a lot in business. Like, oh, I tried really hard on this thing. Like, I built this website, and they name all these things that they did that kept them busy. But they didn't actually try. They didn't actually put themselves out there. They didn't actually make themselves uncomfortable and really take leaps towards their goals. They just did things to keep them busy. So yes, I think that 100% failure is something that's a good thing. And I want more people to get behind that idea and take it further from that middle point where they're just accepting of it and bring it over here where they really feel like they embrace it. They welcome it. They celebrate it the same way you celebrate your wins, like celebrate your failures. I want it to be something that's normal. And in fact, I think a great example of this is Sarah Blakely. She often talks about how when she was a kid, her father would ask them at dinner, what did you fail at this week? And she said that she was encouraged to fail from a young age, and it was seen as a good thing that they would celebrate at the dinner table. And so her whole life, she thought of failure that way. And it's no wonder that she is so successful and has created so much in her life. And imagine how all of our lives would be different if we could embrace failure that same way.
Oh, I'm going to start asking that question every day. So what did you fail at today? Is the question. And I think too, like when you talk about getting a little bit uncomfortable and then like doing a couple things that you feel are outside of your comfort zone, and then maybe pulling back in and doing a couple things that are more uncomfortable, pulling back in. I think what I've found and have learned to lean into is just being uncomfortable a good majority of the time. A good majority of my days, I'm doing uncomfortable stuff. And I think, so I know you're a runner. Were you an athlete growing up?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say I was a good athlete. I wasn't like star athlete. I was the kind of athlete that the coaches liked because I tried really hard, but I wasn't that good. But I did play sports.
An athlete is an athlete. The thing that I'm thinking about is, I feel like we learn such lessons on the field about how to lose, how to win, how to be competitive. And I think that was really foundational for me. And it's so funny. I was talking to my partner the other night, and his nephew is doing this karate class, and they were in this tournament. And at the end of the tournament, the whole class received trophies. So not just the winner, the whole class. And this might trigger some people, trigger some parents, but we were talking about it and just like really wanting to be curious as to, well, okay, that's interesting. They're celebrating all the kids, which is really great, but then how are we teaching our kids to lose and to fail and to know that by experiencing this, it's just going to make you stronger? And so that was really interesting. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it. So I had two opposite experiences in high school and in college. In high school, I was a big fish in a little sea. and I kind of stood out. I was on student council. I was top of my class and all these different things. And it was easy. I'm just going to say it straight out. It was easy. Not to say that I didn't try. I didn't study hard and I was very committed, but it felt easy the whole time. And then I went to Georgetown, which was very, very, very hard. And I was a little fish in a big sea. And it was the complete opposite. I was the losing team on the karate match every single day of my college education. I remember sophomore year of college was my real low. The sophomore slump was absolutely real for me. It was just, my classes were so hard and I was overcoming an eating disorder. I was seeing some of my friends and they would go out, every night of the week, and school didn't seem that hard for them, going to different other schools from me. And I thought, would I be happier if I went to a school that was easier, if I wasn't challenged as much? And I really questioned this idea, not to the point where I ever thought about transferring, but just kind of came up for me. Like, what do I want for my life? Like, is the point of my life to challenge myself so hard? And really wondering if there was any benefit in that. And in the moment, I couldn't find it. But obviously, I kept going. I kept committing. And school got easier because I learned how to study in a different way. I learned how to learn in a different way. I learned what I was interested in. I took more classes that I was interested in. And things started to get better. What did you say?
You launched a business?
Yeah, I launched my business my senior year. I healed my eating disorder. I started dating my now fiance. Things started turning around and college began to get a little bit easier. But even at that point where it was easier, it was still hard. And when I was in the midst of my business failing many times, I kept thinking to myself, thank God I was a little fish in a little sea at Georgetown, because that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm so glad that my parents encouraged me to always push myself and be out of my comfort zone, because I could have easily chosen a different college for a variety of reasons. And I could have thrived there. I didn't get any special awards at graduation. I don't even think I was any cum laude, anything like that. I was just the average fish. But what I did get was I learned how to thrive when things are tough. I learned how to build resilience and grit, which I believe is the key to all things in life. I believe it's the key to joy. And in the middle of a pandemic where so many people are struggling, having resilience and grit is so important. And I learned in my business, while I was then using that resilience and grit to add another layer on, which was how to be happy, even when things aren't going my way, even when I'm failing, even when I'm tapping into my deepest grit inside of me, how to still choose joy. Because I realized, and I did a lot of inner work on and a lot of self-education on mindset. And that's why it's a huge part of my business today. I realized that my thoughts about the circumstances are what creates my feelings, not the circumstances themselves. And so that two-layer balance of resilience and then finding joy in those moments of things not going your way, to me is everything. And I wouldn't have been able to get there without multiple times putting myself in the situation where I was the loser. So I think it's great for kids to be challenged, for kids to be in an environment where they're the worst team in the league. How can we emulate that, whether it's in school, whether it's in sports, clubs? I competed on the high Q team in high school, and we actually were really bad. My school, we would not win a lot, but it was a nerd competition, whatever you want to call it. It's same thing in Mean Girls. I literally wore the blue polo. But things like that, no matter what you're interested in, and as an adult too. So whether you're a parent or you're an adult, how can you create that environment? I wouldn't say 24/7. It's okay to relax, and self-care is really important. And I'm a huge believer in boundaries and all these other inner workings of the balance of hard work and hustle, and also alignment and rest, and how these all fit together. I think it's really a beautiful balance, and there's different seasons and you need different things in different seasons. But the overall message for me here is really put yourself or put your children in the situation where they're the underdogs more often, and let them be okay with failing. Let them learn how to build grit. Let them learn how to still be happy that they got orange slices at halftime of their soccer game, even though they lost, or still be happy that, they're getting together with their friends afterwards, even though it was a crappy game. So I think that that's a really important lesson for children to be taught. And, the participation trophy thing, it's kind of complex. I think in one sense, you're encouraging failure. Like, it's good that you failed, but at the same time, they don't feel like the underdog. They don't feel like they lost. And so they don't have any skin in the game to learn and grow, because they feel just as good as if they would have won. So I think it's a really great concept. And I think there's a lot of big takeaways there.
This has been a year for so many people that has required a lot of resiliency and grit. And what would your advice be for the average person watching, the average entrepreneur watching, or what do you advise your clients as far as how to build more resiliency and grit?
Yeah. So because I've been asked this a million times, I created a 3-week mini course on it. So it's literally 3 weeks, 10 to 15 minute audio trainings that give you a tangible challenge to do in your life, and then journal prompts to reflect on them. It's only $47. It's on my website, but I will give you the kind of like short summary of it here, so that you don't have to buy it if it's not something you want to go all in on, but something you kind of just want to apply on your own. You need to do physical, tangible things, challenges in your life to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. So like in the course, my goal is to sort of like create those for you. And I give some of the tips in my TED Talk as well, which are like things like running 1 mile longer than you think you can. If you don't think you can run a mile, just go outside and try. I had a client who took the Building Grit mini course, and she was like, yeah, I couldn't run a mile, but I told myself I was going to do it. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I have not run a mile in 10 years, but like, it was hard. Like, I think she might've even said that she threw up afterwards. Like, she was unwell, but she got through it, and it proved so much to her. So it's really cool to see situations like that. Another good one is like cold showers. Like, you're just choosing to put yourself in a very uncomfortable situation. And by doing that, you are training your brain to really get behind this idea that I can do hard, uncomfortable things. And that is the most powerful thing in the world, because that in and of itself is what builds grit. It shows you that no matter what life throws at you, like, I got this, because I can handle any uncomfortable situation. There's a lot of examples I have in my life where I've chosen to do things once I recognized that I didn't want to do them because they were uncomfortable, because I cared about what other people thought. That's not a big thing. Like with grit, I think grit and this fear of what other people think kind of go hand in hand. And so when you want to build your grit, one great way to do it is like work on that fear. And so 2 quick examples of that. One, there was a time a few years ago where it was like 9:30 at night on a weeknight. And I looked in our fridge. I was living home with my parents still. I'm like, there's no milk. And I like to drink my coffee with milk in the morning. So I'm like, I really want to go to Giant, which is our grocery store around the corner, and get some milk, but I'm already in my pajamas. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go in the morning. Like, I just want to get started with my day. And I'm like, wait a second, like, why don't I just go in my pajamas? And then I realized that the reason I didn't want to go in my pajamas is because I was concerned that someone I know might see me. What would these even strangers think of me if they saw me in my PJ pants grocery shopping? Kind of a weird thing. So when I recognize that, and when I recognize any moments like that, I force myself to do it. So I went to Giant in my PJ pants. I actually like went on Instagram, and I was like, I think I was like Instagramming living, like, I'm in my pajama pants. Here's why. Like, check it out. Like, what do you guys think? And I was for sure embarrassed. I didn't see anyone I knew, but I definitely saw some strangers like glancing down, like, is she in PJs, or what's going on here? And I did it anyway. And things like that have really helped me to be confident in myself and just really not care about what other people think. And that has been a really important tool in this like grit toolbox. Another example of that was when I went to the gym, and it was a time where I was working out of a co-working space. So I would pack a bag and I would change in the locker room after working all day into my gym clothes, and then I would work out and then go home. And I guess I had packed my bag in a rush that morning, so I only packed one sneaker, but I didn't know until I got there. So long story short, I'm dressed in my workout clothes. I have one sneaker on. I can't find the other one. And I'm like, wait a second, there's no other sneaker in this bag. So then my immediate thought is, like, I guess I have to go home. This stinks. You know, I really wanted to work out. Like, it make me feel good. It's important for my mental health, all these things. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's start with saying, like, working out in bare feet or socks could be dangerous on certain pieces of equipment. Like, I'm not going to walk on a treadmill in socks. I know that's a hazard. I'm not even going to like do squats or do anything where, you know, I have to be putting weight on my body because I want to support the sneakers. But what about like an ab workout on the mats? Like, I could totally do that. Like, if I was at a workout class, you might be like doing an ab workout at yoga and you're wearing just bare feet, right? What's the difference? And then, of course, the questioning and fear comes up, and it's like, but Jaclyn, what are you going to do when you have to like walk across the gym floor and everyone's staring at you because everyone else wears sneakers at the gym and you look like a crazy person? I'm like, well, got to do it. And so I walked across the gym floor. I went over to the mats, and I always say, like, I wish I could tell you that no one looked and nobody cared, because that would be like a great story. Like, you guys, it was all in my head. Nobody cared. But people actually 100% looked. Like, they were staring at me. I actually am shocked how much people looked. Like, it was as if I had walked across with like no shirt on. And like, it was like, what is going on? Everyone look at this girl. She looks like a crazy person. But I did it anyway. I didn't care. I did my workout. I felt great. But the best part was leaving in my heels, because that's what I had worn to the co-working space that day, my workout clothes and my heels, because I didn't have sneakers to walk in the cold outside. But it's just another example of doing the things that make you feel uncomfortable, that you're afraid of. And so whether you want to build your grit in a really structured, formulated way where you're going to like write out different challenges that you're going to do, or you can also do it kind of in daily life in a more authentic way, where every time you feel that, I don't want to do this because, and it's something that is just a fear and it's not actually dangerous, right? Like, I was asking, is this actually dangerous? Or is this just like my head making up this fake fear that isn't dangerous? And 99.99% of the time, it's just a fear that I have in my own brain, in which case forcing yourself to do those things anyway, in spite of that fear, is a really powerful tool to build your grit. So either way, a combination of both those, but that's what I would suggest.
The theme, though, is really, it's coming back to noticing the voice and then choosing to act anyway. And with that, I love that you mentioned this, because I think that there are some people that aren't connected to that voice yet, or aware that the voice is there. And so how, like, is that something for you? Because I know I've had to really cultivate that, really listening and getting still and hearing what that mind chatter actually is telling me. And so is that something that one can just nurture really quickly, do you feel?
Yeah. So I think we all probably have some part of us that knows it's there. And different people, I would call this voice intuition. That's what I would name it. And some people feel their intuition in different ways. So some people may hear an actual voice, like, you can do this, you got this, keep going, you should do this anyway, right? And it's that kind of guiding voice. Other people may not hear any voice at all, but it may be feelings. So you probably remember when you were a kid, your mom might have told you things like, trust your gut. And you get that feeling, it's like a good gut feeling, like, oh, you know, you meet someone and you're like, I have a feeling about this, like, this is going to lead to something. Or you have that like bad gut feeling, like, I got to get out of here. I don't know. This is not this person. No, like, run. Right. And oftentimes we feel that. And we know, and you're like, I should have listened to my gut. I knew this guy was going to rip me off. Or, oh, I should have listened to my gut. I knew this person was someone I should have, made a commitment to get to know more. And now look at them and I missed my chance or whatever it is, right? Like you just know intuitively, but most people who don't find themselves listening to it are just tuning out that voice or that feeling. And I think it's really interesting because in the world of like personal and business development, we're often told the way that we should do things. I try to never do this. I try to be really cautious in my content. I used to do it. So depending on, if you're consuming something really old of mine, you might find me saying like, this is the way. But I typically don't do that because through the process of building my business, as well as just developing as a human being, I've learned that the right way for me might not be the right way for you. And that's okay. And the way we know the right way is that voice. And so it's not about the action that you take. So two people could take the same exact action. And for one person, it could come from a really abundant, aligned place. So let's say two people listening are like, they both want to, I'm going to use like investing in something because that's a really good example. So they want to buy a course, right? Two people are listening. Both are like, I'm going to buy this course that, Jaclyn has, whatever. And person A is like, I feel so good about myself and my progress. And I can't wait to just enhance it. And I really think this course is going to help me. I'm excited about continuing my growth because I got this and I can handle this. And I love having tools that help me grow even further. And they're doing it from a really abundant, aligned place. And then there's person B who's like, I suck. My business is not growing. Nothing is working for me. I'm willing to try anything. I feel so low. I feel so down. And I heard about this course and I just feel like I might as well try it because, I need it to work. It has to work for me because nothing else is working. And if this doesn't work, then I'm just going to have to give up. And so this is it. This is my last shot. I'm going to try it because I can't figure it out on my own. And so I need Jaclyn to come in and tell me what to do. Right? You feel the difference in that energy and it's the same exact action step. And so I really, really encourage everyone for every decision in your life. I don't really care what it's about. Spending money is another great example, like investing, but just not in your business but like literally buying yourself a coffee. Like, where is that coming from? Like every decision is coming from a place inside of you. And it's either your higher self or your ego, essentially. It's one of the two. We're going to lean one way or the other. It's either coming from an abundant place or a place of scarcity. So how to tap into that if you don't know is feel. One of my favorite meditations, if you're deciding between a choice, should I do this or should I not, is very simple. It's to close your eyes, do something that grounds you. So I like to imagine like a bright beam of light that goes through my whole body and connects me to like the center of the earth and all the way into the clouds. I feel very grounded and centered, my feet on the ground. Just take a second to do that. And then I imagine that I have two circles in front of me with each of the choices. So maybe the choice is, I don't know, I get a traditional publishing deal for my book or self-publish, right? That might be a choice I'm faced with. And so I have these two circles in front of me, and each circle I imagine like the words in them. And then I will step into one of the circles and I will just feel. I will ask myself, does this feel light or does it feel heavy? Do I feel excited or do I feel anxious? And I will just survey my body. Is my heart speeding up or is it slowing down? Am I sweating? Do I have chills? Do I feel like I need to vomit or that I kind of have butterflies, right? Notice what's going on. And then I step back to the middle. I do the grounding again. So you can imagine again, like some kind of beam of light going through your whole body, shining on you, your guide it, your support it, whatever it is that helps you be grounded. And I step into the other circle. I do those same questions, light or heavy, how am I feeling? Notice my body, step in the middle circle. And then I ask myself, which one felt lighter? There's always an answer. Always, always, always with every choice in your life. So the more you can tune into that voice, and some just general daily practices can help you do that. Journaling, going for walks, exercising, meditating, just anything that gives you time with you. Taking a bubble bath, like it doesn't really matter what it is. Take time with you and be alone with your thoughts. You can talk to someone too. So sometimes I talk it out with a friend, a coach, right? I talk it out to get to that place, but I'm not talking it out from my ego. I'm talking it out to what actually feels right in my body, or what that true voice, my soul is telling me, not the voice that's the scared little girl that doesn't want to get rejected or is afraid to fail, right? The true voice in your heart and soul. So I think it's a really important lesson to learn. And I do think we have to be very intentional about creating that. I think morning routine is absolutely essential. It's how you can start your day with that voice top of mind. And I also think that being just self-aware to what you need. So there may be some days where you need to consume some sort of content that is really motivating. That's like Gary Vee style, like get the heck up and work, because you've been just feeling in a slump. You've been totally self-sabotaging because you're afraid, and you need to just hear someone tell it how it is. And there may be other days where you need to hear someone telling you to slow down, take time for you, align yourself, and take some time off because you've been sprinting and burning yourself out, and that's not serving you in any way. And so I think it's all goes back to this self-awareness and creating a routine that allows space for that throughout your day, and especially in your morning. And when you do that, the voice gets stronger and stronger. The last thing I want to say about the intuition concept is that the more you listen to it, the more it will speak to you. So I don't quite remember listening to it super often in the beginning years of my business. So it took me 2.5 years of failures to create success. And just to kind of paint a picture, 2016, I think I lost money. Well, actually 2016, 2017, and 2018, I lost money. I don't even think I made revenue in 2016 or 2017. It was just expenses. 2018, I made $11,000. 2019, I made over 100. So that leap was actually a result of listening to my intuition. At the very end of 2018, I had this massive, like yelling, like that's what it felt like, and it wasn't actually a voice like Jaclyn, but it just felt so loud. It felt like this energy, this feeling bubbling up inside of me that I couldn't not listen to. Maybe you've had that in your life at some point, like I have to do this. I have to tell this person I love them. I have to quit this job. Like we've all probably had some moment in our lives where we felt that. I remember definitely feeling that in my relationship. You know, I couldn't go back to college because we were dating for just a summer. I couldn't go back to college. We went to separate schools, and not be with this person because I just had that voice. But other than that time, I don't really remember listening to it in my business. And then Christmas morning of all days, I had the voice so loud. 2018 telling me, you need to let go of everything you've done in the past. You need to become a motivational speaker and stop talking about health and wellness and all these things you've been talking about, because that's what I was focused on for that first 2.5 years, and start talking about women's empowerment, failure, goals, and the things that you're feeling pulled to. You just need to do it. And I went downstairs on Christmas morning, instead of being like, let's open presents, I was like, by the way, mom and dad, everything I worked on the past 2.5 years, this app, these plates, this product, all this stuff, I'm throwing it out the window. I'm doing something totally different. And yeah, I'm going to like travel the country and be a motivational speaker. And they were just like so confused, concerned. My dad literally looked at me and said, so you want to be Oprah? And I was like, yes, you get it. Like Oprah is the best. And he was like, no, oh my God, like it's never funny. Like pick yourself back up, like keep trying. Like, what are you doing? And I listened. I had the critics, I shouldn't call them critics. They loved me very much and actually supported my whole business journey. But the people who just didn't get the voice, they didn't have that voice in their heads. They didn't understand it, right? They just couldn't. And then I have me listening to it. And when I listen to it, I share those numbers because it's proof of the magic. 11K to over 100K, how can you 10X something in a year? Like that kind of stuff doesn't happen all the time.
By trusting the voice.
What'd you say?
Trusting that voice.
Yeah, exactly. It really was leaning into the voice, trusting it. And so long story short, after I listened to it, and I saw quick results, not like overnight, but within maybe 6 weeks, I had booked at least a handful of speeches that were paying me thousands of dollars each. I was starting to see it coming together. I was starting to feel the momentum. And when I realized that, I'm like, I have to keep listening. So the voice came to me again, July of that year. This is actually the craziest story ever. I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time. I love these stories about the voice. I'll tell it really quick. Long story short, I had built up some debt in my business in order to run it. That's why I had a loss year 1, year 2, and year 3. And so I was just starting to make money in 2019. And my boyfriend, who is now my fiance, at the time, he was saying, like, let's start looking for houses. And this was actually back in like January and I'm like, well, I don't have any money to buy a house. So I don't know how it's going to work out. And he's like, well, just your business is going to take off. Like, he's always encouraging me with whatever I did. And so it started taking off. I started making that money. And now I was faced with having the money in my business and saying, okay, do I pay myself this? And then I put it, on a down payment to a house. Like, what do I do? And the obvious choice was to pay myself it, because in July, Richie and I had already bought a home that we were closing on in like 4 weeks. And so we had about a month till closing. So you obviously don't have to like pay your down payment until you're closing. But I had said, like, yeah, I have money because I had made the money and I planned on paying myself it. But then the voice was like, no, pay off all the debt. Like, you're good. The money's coming. And like a normal sane person would be like, it's probably not a good idea, because what happens if I get to closing, I don't have the money? Like, we lose the house and it's all my fault. Like, that'd be really, really bad. And so I don't remember exactly the numbers, but I think after I paid off the debt, I had like maybe, I don't know, $12,000 left. And I think we needed like 25,000 more. And so I had like a month to make $25,000. And I'm like, oh, I've never made that much in a month. Like, I don't think it's going to work out. Like, I was feeling all these questions. Like, why did I listen to this voice? And it's a week before settlement. I think I had barely made any more money. And it was only like just supporting my current business. I didn't pay myself anything. And Richie's like, do you have the money? Like, what are we going to do? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I just have this weird feeling that it's going to work out. And God bless him, he was very calm. Like, okay, like, I trust you. Like, trust your feelings. They always seem to lead us places. And the next day, so it was maybe like a few days out from settlement, we get this sheet from our mortgage guy saying, like, okay, here's the exact amount you owe at settlement. And it was $25,000 less than we had originally planned for, because we had this last minute $25,000 like deduction on something. I don't even know where it came from, on buying the house. And so turns out I didn't need any of that money. And the universe knew that and was guiding me to save me lots of money from paying off this debt, rather than holding on to the debt when I wouldn't have needed it anyway. So just another example, like, once you start listening, it comes more and more. And a lot of times it might not feel logical. But like, I have so much proof in my life that it wasn't logical. It was divine. The answers were there, and it was just so much magic. So the more you listen, the louder it will get.
So good. And I love how, like, it's all an evolution. And I think if we look back at the piece on the routines, the morning routines, and I totally agree with you, that is game changer. They don't have to be, I think that people think about their morning routine and feel like, oh, it has to check this box, this box, this box, be this amount of time down to the minute. It has to be perfect. I have to do all these things, and it has to stay this routine this way forever. And no, like what you were saying is it resonates so much with me. There are some mornings where I know I need like to get fired up. And I have the voices and the people that fire me up. And so I'm listening to that as part of the routine. Other weeks, I need to lay on my acupuncture mat and listen to gratitude affirmations. Like and yet it goes back to the thread of what you're talking about. And it's really just trusting and tuning into that voice, letting it guide you. It usually is never going to guide you wrong. And it's just, you're such a testament to that in your accomplishments and your stories. So before we wrap up, I want to finish with some rapid fire questions. I'd love to know what do you hear the most from people? Like, what compliments do people give you the most?
Oh, I think the biggest compliment I get is like inspiring. giving people light and that spark. Like, I think it's not ironic that my branding is the way it is, because it really, that's how people feel when they listen to me and when they work with me. They often say something like, you lit a fire underneath me. I've actually have that in like multiple testimonials from clients. And oftentimes I feel like my podcast is like someone's morning coffee. Like, it just kind of gets them going. And I want to be the example of what's possible. And I want to guide people and encourage them to hone in on their gifts and talents and lean into them. And I also am the person sometimes to call you out when you need it, and kind of be that friend when you're not showing up and when you're self-sabotaging yourself, to be there for you too. But either way, it kind of gets you fired up and sparked. So I would say that's the one I hear the most.
So your book and podcast, or books, I should say, your books and podcast inspire so many people. I'm curious, who do you turn to for inspiration? What is your go-to podcast and all-time favorite book?
Yeah. So again, like we were talking about, there's definitely seasons, but I would say one of my favorite go-to podcasts for a long time is Catherine Zinkina, Manifestation Babe. Richie actually proposed to me on her podcast. That's how much I loved it. Like, I was listening so loyally, and Richie emailed Catherine, her team, and said, like, I want to propose to my girlfriend on your podcast. And she was like, we've never done anything like this, but like, why not? So it was really fun. We were like sitting at the beach and we were listening to an episode together, because he is like into personal development too. He's like, oh, let's listen to this new episode that came out. And at the end of it, she like reads a letter from him, and yeah, it was really, really special. So I love Catherine. I've had her on my podcast, and I've been lucky enough to be a guest on hers as well. So I would say she's my number one. I've taken her courses as well on manifestation. That's where I've learned a lot of my manifestation. But I have a lot of different people that I go to for different things. So like James Wedmore is really great when I need some reminders that like business can be easy and you can slow down. Whereas sometimes I listen to Stacey Bayman, who coaches life coaches, when it's more like, hey girl, figure this out. Like, you set a goal, be committed to it, right? So I kind of listen to different people at different times. Books, I read a lot, and I have a lot of favorite books. I have a highlight on my Instagram stories called Goodreads, and I've listed any book that I've liked on there that I've read. So check that out. Favorite books of all time. One that really resonated with me, I read it about 2 years ago now, about money, is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. I just really resonated with like learning that wealth blueprint and how to rewire the way that I thought about money. So that's a really good one. I also really like Money and the Law of Attraction by Abraham Hicks, which actually isn't all about money. There's a whole section on health. There's a whole section on relationships. It's a really good one. And I recommend the audiobook. That's what I listen to, because it's a bit dense.
Last question. What are you most excited about right now?
Opportunity. I believe that I and all of you are magnets, and we get to attract anything we desire. And so I've put my intentions out there. I've set clear goals to the universe, and I'm just open and ready. And I just have this feeling of excitement that, unexpected things are just going to pop up. I set the intention, and then boom, something comes in my inbox. Hey, Jaclyn, want you to speak at our event next March. Hey, Jaclyn, are you taking on new clients right now? Hey, Jaclyn, we're HarperCollins and we want to offer you a publishing deal. Like, whatever it is, like, I just believe fully that these opportunities are on their way to me. And it's really fun, because whatever you believe, you get. So if I believe they're on their way to me, then they are. So that's what I'm most excited about.
All right. On that note, let's go magnetize. Jaclyn, thank you so much for spending part of your Wednesday with us. It was
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun, if you couldn't tell.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
Mwah.